I am Sergey, along with Tasha.
The National Association for the Deaf recently hosted a board meeting at Camp Lacodia in Madison, South Dakota, which is near the CSD headquarters office. This meeting was open to the public, so I took the opportunity to attend this meeting and listen to some of the current matters. I also had the opportunity to interview the current CEO, Howard Rosenblum.
Howard Rosenblum was appointed as NAD's Chief Executive Officer after 19 years as a lawyer, focusing his practice on disability rights and special education law. In 2010, President Obama selected Mr. Rosenblum to serve on the United States Access Board, responsible for setting accessible design and technical criteria used to promote compliance with federal disability rights laws. Congratulations, and thank you for joining us today.
I asked Mr. Rosenblum to briefly describe NAD, who they are, what they do, and who it is they represent.
The NAD is an organization for constituents all across the United States, including those who have lost their hearing, deaf, deafblind, hard of hearing, everyone, to make sure that we fight for equality. Equality in education, in employment, equality and accessibility in all areas of life for deaf and hard of hearing people. If that's your interest, you can join NAD, and all of us will be working together at the federal level, the state level, the local level, to make sure that we have captioning. If there's something in Congress, that captioning is addressed for televisions and networks and the internet and movie theaters and so forth, that we have sign language in our educational schools, and that we have interpreters and access to communication in all levels of school and the workplace, so that interpreters can be provided, and qualified interpreters at that, not just people who can sign, but fluent signers and qualified signers, so that deaf people can have the best possible access that we can and have first-class citizenship. That's what we hope to achieve, and that's why I hope you'll support NAD. Since 1880 into the future. Can you tell us what NAD's current focus and priorities are? The way we envision this, like I said before, is providing equality in so many different ways in our lives, and we have a number of priorities. We have priorities beginning with ASL, American Sign Language, and preserving our language, and we do that by saving our schools for the deaf, because that's where everything begins, where we keep ASL alive, and we promote our language accessibility throughout adulthood. And so that means we have to work very closely with parents, with Schools for the Deaf and mainstream programs and a variety of others, to make sure that we're teaching people and teaching our children, making sure that they know about their language and they can preserve their language, providing visual access not only through sign language but through captioning, so that all parts of society are accessible in both sign language and caption. So that's a part of one of our focuses, or one of our priorities, is that kind of access. We want to make sure that deaf people are familiar and knowledgeable about their history, and we'd love to create a Deaf History Month so that people know about who famous deaf people have been in the past, and that they're not alone in an isolated sense, but there is a sense of community, and we can share that with the rest of the world.
How will you keep the community informed of the latest happenings? And how can they communicate back with you?
In addition, we want to make sure that we're communicating via the web and Twitter and Facebook and all the different social media options that the community uses, so they know exactly what NAD is doing. It's hard for us to do that, but we don't want people to think that we're not doing much of anything. We want to work with all members of the deaf community. May they be late deafened or deaf or hard of hearing. We want them to know exactly what we're doing and what our heart and soul is all about and what we're doing, and we're trying to network with as many people as possible. And if they need a voice, they can come to us and we can be that voice for them. And collectively, we can be one big family for NAD.
As technology rapidly advances, what impact will this have on the deaf and hard of hearing community, and what obstacles can we expect?
Well, things have dramatically improved. In the past, NAD would have to rely on newsprint, and we would have to send out publications that way. And later we used the NAD mag, which was a bit more efficient. And then there was computers, and now there's Twitter and Facebook and vlogs and VP and email. Everything is so much faster than it has been in the past. We use TTYs, and now we're using video phones, and everything is real time. And so today's technology has just been a boon for our community. And you'll have to remember that technology is something that we need to stay ahead of or stay in pace with. In time, or back in at one time, when people had telephones, deaf people didn't have access to telephones until years and years later, once things had improved. And the same was true for movie theaters during silent films. There was a lot of access. Deaf people had access at that time. But as soon as they added voice or audio to films, we didn't have that access until they were captioned years and years later. And we still don't have complete caption access today. So we do have some technology available to us when we take advantage of it, but we have to make sure that we're in pace with that technology so that things remain 100% accessible, or as much as we possibly can make them, so that it's accessible to us. And CNN News and others, for example, were able to read what's going on, and now that they're doing video with sound but no captions, it makes it difficult. So we have to make sure that any live feeds are being captioned and accessible. So technology helps us, and that's an excellent thing. The technology out there has to be something that doesn't have gaps, and so that's what NAD is doing, fighting for our rights. Well, thank you, Howard, for your time. We expect to see some great things from you and the NAD alike. People of America, it's time to step up and get involved and make a difference, starting with your very own communities. Farewell.
Bye.